you don't have to go viral on LinkedIn to win. And most of the advice that you're going to hear when you get started on LinkedIn is post all the time, post thought leadership content, and try to get people's attention. But the best opportunities that I've seen come from the platform have come from some of the least likely interactions that I've had on the platform. And I've had a few posts that have gone small viral, not like crazy, but that have done pretty well, gotten a couple 100,000 impressions. And the amount of value that I've seen come from that compared to what I see as the secret of LinkedIn aren't even close. Like the business opportunities, deals, jobs, things that I've seen come from the platform. So today's guest, Kayla, used to be a teacher. And so we're going to be talking about what she's done to grow her a valuable business network on LinkedIn. And we're going to be talking about the secret to winning by starting conversations with the right people. So Kayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I want to kick off just real high level at the top here. How long have you been using LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I've actually been using LinkedIn for probably exactly 3 years. As you mentioned, I came from the world of education in which LinkedIn is not really a thing that people do. So it's been about 3 years since I opened my LinkedIn profile.
And then when you opened your LinkedIn profile, what were you looking to do? Why did you start your LinkedIn profile?
Originally, I was searching for a job that was not in the education space. And so that's where I began my journey. And then I ended up landing a job in sales for digital marketing, which is what I still do today, just a different kind of journey. But I realized that it's a valuable connection tool in the business world. And so I kept on using LinkedIn after my job search for that reason.
So when you just first got started, you were primarily just using it like going to the job section and looking through and applying for jobs, or were you networking and at the beginning?
Probably a really light amount of networking, like a couple of people that I knew from social media that were transitioning from the education space to the business space. I followed them on LinkedIn and interacted with them a tiny bit there, but it was mostly just like, I'm looking for a job. I want to see what's out there and connecting with those kinds of people.
So then when did you start seeing that it was more than just a job platform and really looking to it more for that networking, business relationship building platform?
Yeah, probably right away when I started my sales role, which was in April of 2022. So a few months after I started using LinkedIn, I, in my training, found that prospecting on LinkedIn was valuable. You can find the right kinds of people to have conversations with there because it's really easy to filter by job title, that kind of thing. So that's when I started realizing, okay, this isn't just a place to look for a job, but you can actually start conversations here as well.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to dig into the starting conversations with the right people piece in just a second. But something that you posted the other day about how you kind of had the intention of posting more on LinkedIn. I believe it was last year, and how from your first post, it led to an amazing conversation that really changed things for you. So when did you decide, or how did you decide to start posting on LinkedIn versus more using it for engaging with other people's content?
Yeah, I was using it more passively for a couple of years and mainly doing outreach on DMs, like one-on-one outreach kind of stuff, connecting with people. And then last year I was like, okay, I do see the value in this platform as far as putting thought leadership out there, being someone that people look to for insight and advice, inspiration, whatever it may be. So last year, 2024, when I was setting my goals, I was like, I want to post 2 to 4 times a month on this platform, just because I think I do see the value in it. And I'm going to start putting myself out there a little bit for people to be able to find me, not just me seeking people out. And then, like you said, the first post I did, and it wasn't even like a high value post or anything like that. It was just like, Happy New Year, very basic, like excited about my goals for the year kind of thing. And then someone reached out to me who is the owner of my current company, owner of Two Trees PPC, and asked if I was possibly looking for a local opportunity. And we had a chat and it just worked out. And I'm super happy in the role that I have now. So super simple Happy New Year post turned into my dream job.
I love it. Yeah, and I actually landed my previous role at a company that I loved working for, and had it was just a great experience overall. Huge career change through LinkedIn, through networking and building relationships on LinkedIn also. So I love that. And something that a word that you used in that post that I love really digging into, and this is to me the secret of LinkedIn, is people want to share thought leadership. They want to talk about themselves and want to get attention out there and then get inbound opportunities. And that can happen. And once you get to a certain point and you're really good at creating content, you've been practicing for a long time, you can definitely drive business through more of an inbound approach. But you can start driving really meaningful opportunities, whether it's finding a job or getting business, by focusing on starting conversations with people. And so when your intention isn't, hey, how do I get in front of as many eyeballs as possible, but how do I get the right people to talk with me? That can be really, really powerful. So you've been posting then for about a year. What are some of the things that you've seen happen as you've begun to post?
I definitely have had more inbound, more just kind of like that relationship building. Like you notice that the same people are liking your posts over and over, and you're like, yep, those people are in my target audience. Like they see me. It's a little bit warmer now. If I'm going to reach out to them and ask for a conversation, they know who I am. I recently had the experience too, where somebody, I think that we were reaching out to via email, found my profile because we were going to have a meeting. So we had a meeting scheduled and we came to the meeting. I'd never met him before. I didn't know anything about him other than like his name and his email address. And he was like, oh yeah, I watched some of your content. Like I saw some of your clips on YouTube that you shared through LinkedIn. So that was really cool too. Like you're just starting a conversation a little bit warmer where somebody already has even a small amount of like trust and believes in the value of what you're putting out there.
Yeah, I think that's super powerful, because especially if you're in any kind of a sales role, good selling is going to be serving. You're looking to bring value and add value to people. And so often sales gets boiled down to the transaction. Like, how do we become as efficient as possible at getting in front of somebody when they're ready to buy, pushing them to buy now, creating some kind of false sense of urgency to get them to say yes. And that I'm being a little bit unfair in the way that I'm saying that, but I think that's not only the way that a lot of sellers act, especially on LinkedIn, by just cold outreaching to as many people as possible, not really thinking about what is this person going through, what have they posted content on LinkedIn, how can I engage with them, build a relationship first. Instead, it's like going straight for, hey, here's how you can help me by buying from me, rather than how can I serve you, right? And so when you see those interactions through your posts, you're able to, like you said, reach out to that person and start a normal, meaningful conversation. And then if they have a need for your service, they're going to be so much more open to hearing what you have to say. But on the flip side, if you can't actually serve them, you're still able to build a really valuable relationship, maybe send them to somebody who could serve them better right now. And then they're going to remember you down the road, right? They're going to trust you so much more. If they do get to the point where they are ready to buy your service, they're going to be at a much higher trust level with you at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it's like, it's not a numbers game, but it is a numbers game, because you want to have enough connections, right? Like you want to start building your network up to the point where there are just more of those people, right, that are seeing your content and that you're able to spark those conversations with. But you're right, it's all about building the relationship both ways, right? Like you kind of see what they're up to, they see what you're up to. You can have that conversation. And really, I've learned in my short career in sales, it's in-person networking and on LinkedIn, I think it's the same thing. It's about like the long-term vision of your sales role and your sales goals, and not like, who can I close today, but who can I have in my network that's going to either be able to refer me in the future, or I'm going to be able to help them in some way Or, like you said, it's sometimes I need something from my network, and it's like, who do we want to have there when we need them, and who can we be that person for in the next 5 years, right? Not like the next 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, and one thing that I've seen provide a ton of value for me is when other people have taken time who didn't need to talk to me. They are offering something that's outside of my price range or whatever, but we get on a call from LinkedIn for whatever reason, whether it was like, hey, let's connect and see if there's anything here or whatever. But then they take time to help me and then make a connection for me that's actually really valuable. And I've started doing that way more often. Like whenever I'm on a call, or if I have somebody on a show and they bring something up where I'm like, oh man, like if somebody goes, hey, I'm writing a book, or I'm thinking about writing a book, I'm going to go, oh man, you got to talk to David Hancock. He's the guy for writing books, as if you want to be driving value through your book. And so, being able to make those connections brings a ton of value and really positions you, like you're saying, over not necessarily 1 or 2 months, but over a year, 2, 3, 5 years. It really positions you as somebody who's there to add value to the community, both to that individual person. But then if I make a connection to somebody else and they get a deal through that, or they start a conversation with somebody that really leads to something meaningful in their life, they're going to appreciate me a lot more. And if I have a need or an ask, I can reach out to them and they're going to actually take the time to talk with me.
Yeah, exactly. And I love doing that. I love having the opportunity to do that, whether it's to refer someone to someone in my network that I think can really help them, or whether it's a conversation that I'm having with someone where I'm able to offer them insight or value or like free advice. Like I'm not looking at everyone as like, oh, I'm going to sell to you someday. But like if I can have a 20-minute conversation with someone that's going to help them propel their goals forward, like that brings me so much joy, even if I know they're never going to pay me $1 for like my time. It's being that person that provides value. And you did that for me when we were talking about me starting up the podcast, and you helped me align my goals and all that. And now I think we're LinkedIn friends, we're buddies, and I would refer you, and I hope you would refer me. So it's so fun, like building those kinds of online relationships where you're getting value, you're hopefully providing value to someone else, and then you're able to refer it on.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I actually have seen this kind of approach where you're approaching LinkedIn, instead of saying, hey, how do I get myself out there, or how do I sell? Those are kind of the marketing version is going to be, how do I get as much attention as possible to get my message out there? And then from the sales side, it's typically, how do I pitch my product or pitch my service as much as possible to as many people as possible? And to me, when you kind of meet the two in the middle, where you go, hey, how do I create content that lets me start conversations with the right people, building one-on-one relationships with them, not so that I can sell, but so that I can serve them, so I could be part of the community. I've actually seen deals close way faster, and I end up getting in front of people I would have never met before by doing that. And a lot of times it doesn't even end up being like if you approach these conversations as, hey, I want to serve this person. If they have, you kind of have to put on your sales hat at a certain point and go, hey, if they have what you need, you're serving them by telling them what you do. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But a lot of times they're not in market right now. And so then if you take this approach where you're looking to add value and serve, if they don't have the need, there's a really high likelihood they're going to end up referring somebody from their network. So if you're not trying to sell on every call and you're trying to serve, they end up making these referrals, and then that's a warm referral, right? Instead of cold outreach at that point. So super valuable.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And referrals are, like you said, warm is always better. They go a long way.
Okay, so we'll kind of reiterate that to me, the secret of growing on LinkedIn is starting conversations. It could be in the comments, it could be by posting. But then the thing that I've seen the most value in is creating content with other people. And so instead of reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, will you buy from me? You're reaching out to that person and saying, hey, you're super smart. I would love to share your wisdom and your expertise with my audience. And you're serving them from the very beginning. You're giving them a platform to share their ideas and get their ideas out there. And if you do your job right, you're going to make them look good, make them look smart, and add value to them that way. Get them in front of your audience, hopefully get them some new business from people that are tuning in. But then on the flip side, you get the opportunity then to talk with, get a one-on-one conversation with somebody who may never have talked to you otherwise. They would have been hidden behind the gatekeepers if you were trying to get them on a demo. But this way, you get to talk to them and have that valuable relationship. So, with that, I know you just launched a podcast. I'd love to hear a little bit about your show, and then how you kind of see your show tying in with building relationships with LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's exactly as you described. So I just started a podcast 3-4 months ago called The Marketing Chat Room. And I have really been enjoying the process. And at first I kind of wasn't sure which direction I was going with it as far as like who my guests were. But honestly, after our conversation, I realized that I should be talking to my target audience. Again, not just so I can like have a conversation with them and then immediately be like, okay, now I want to sell to you, but because it provides value both directions. So I'm in marketing, right? I'm selling marketing products and I'm like, here you go. Here's a free opportunity for you to market yourself through my channel. And then I get so much value out of every conversation as well. Like I've learned something from every guest. And now I'm starting to book conversations with people in like they're in my target audience, sure, like they're marketing managers or whatever it may be, but they're in industries that I'm very curious about. So like I'm trying to have conversations with people who do marketing for casinos, is one example. And I will be so excited to have my first conversation with someone who does that, because you can just learn so much about the industry. Like we do marketing across a very wide variety of industries. And one of my favorite parts about that is just learning about all the different industries and how they work and how their audiences work, and then hearing people's stories about marketing and what they've done and what they've tried and how long they've done it. And it's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, and I think that's another hidden value of taking this approach is if all of your outreach or all of your interaction on LinkedIn is either purely on the, hey, I'm smart, I'm going to post things that get your attention so that you want to work with me because I'm really smart. If it's all that side with more of the marketing, or on the flip side, if it's on the sales side, it's just cold pitching all day, building your list in Sales Navigator, cold pitching people. What you're missing there is really having your finger on the pulse of the market. And so if I'm always the one talking and never the one listening, then my chances of staying on top of what's actually going on and staying ahead of the game are really low. And also, if you're always pitching and never listening to what the market is saying, your chances of being able to align your service with the pain points and needs in the market are super low. Whereas if you're doing both at the same time, right, you're creating valuable content that gets people's attention by having industry experts on who really know what they're talking about. Now you're building that rapport, but you're actually able to truly learn what's going on and position what you're doing more effectively, which is going to help you end up selling more faster. Or, if you're on the marketing side, it's going to get you much better qualified opportunities to grow the business that you're working in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it increases the value of the conversations you're having too, because you have more knowledge about each industry that you're interested in working with, and you can just kind of continue to build that knowledge. And then you sound smarter when you're talking about it because you know more, and it just builds from there, the more conversations you have.
I love it. So if you're talking to somebody who's listening to the show right now and they're kind of on the fence with LinkedIn, or they're wanting to step in and grow their network, what advice would you give to them?
I would say to just take small steps. That's kind of the advice that I'm giving right now. Like, think about what your goal is in the long term. Like, I think looking at 6 months or a year makes a lot of sense. And if your goal is to, like, a lot of people have a goal, like, I want to grow my network to 500 connections. Like, okay, great, but why? And like, who are your 500 connections? So think about your long-term goal and exactly what it is and why you have that goal. And then just start taking small steps toward that. So if your goal is to get to 500 connections, start connecting with people, not randomly, but like in your target audience. Like, your goal isn't to get there as fast as possible. In my opinion, your goal should be to get there and have 500 quality people that you've connected with for a reason, because either you value their insight, or you think you can provide value to them at some point. So I'd say start there. If your goal is to post more, then think about who's going to read your post. Who do you want to read your post? Maybe it's one person. Like, it could be someone you want to hire you or someone you want to sell to, and just direct the posts at that audience and see what happens.
I love it. Yeah. And then through that, you validate whether you're going after the right audience. Because if you're posting to that audience and it's really targeted and nobody's engaging with your content and you're not starting conversations, you might be on the right track. So, man, great advice.
That's a good test.
Awesome. Well, how can people find out more about you, get connected with you, listen to your podcast, all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kayla Bryant. And then my podcast is called, well, my handle is called Kayla Talks Marketing, and my podcast is called The Marketing Chat Room. So you can find me there on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Awesome. Well, Kayla, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And we'll see all of you next time.